Hello! Welcome to Insert Game. Lately online there seems to be a lot of talk about digital versus physical media. And as a person in the gaming community, I would like to weigh in on this topic. I like to give my point of view from a guy who likes physical media. It's what I grew up with, it's what I know. But as I keep getting pulled along in this crazy pastime we call gaming, I'm faced more and more with the digital future. So this is what I think. But first, I'm going to give you a little bit of background so you can see where I'm coming from with this topic. My first gaming experience was at home on an Atari 2600 that we got for Christmas. I was 5 years old at the time. This was the coolest gift. Me and my sisters would play that together for hours. We all had our favorites, but we all had the ones we liked to play together too. Even our parents would play the system with us, and they would also play the system without us. As a kid, lying in bed, listening to Space Invaders being played in the living room was torture. But not only did we own an Atari 2600, my cousins did as well. This was great as a kid because we could basically go to each other's houses and play games. We could also trade games with each other. Trading games with family and friends was a great way to expand your gaming knowledge of all the games for the system. As a kid, that was awesome. This is why I have a great love for the Atari 2600. Next, we got a Nintendo Entertainment System, also a Christmas gift. Again, me and my sister would play this thing for hours. Super Mario was the best game ever. Battletoads, RC Pro-Am, Shadowgate, all awesome. We even had the 31-1. Again, trading with family and friends was key to getting the most out of the system. With only getting a few new games for Christmas or your birthday, your gaming library would grow, but it was very slow. So having games on hand to trade with family and friends meant you could get much more of a better gaming experience. Then it happened. For my birthday, I got a Super Nintendo. This wasn't a system I had to share. This was all mine. Like in my bedroom, hooked up to a TV all the time mine. Also around this time, I was old enough to start to make money. I could go buy my own games, and I did. The Super Nintendo library built up quick compared to my other console libraries. So I played a lot of Super Nintendo. So many hours poured into that system. Also around this time, we got a computer, a Windows 98 computer. I got to play 3D Golf, I got to play Thief, and I got to play Age of Empires. That game had me hooked. I can't remember how I found it or why I found it, but one day I remember I had Nesticle on my computer. I want to try it out. I could play Nintendo games on my computer using an emulator. Seemed pretty cool. So I loaded it up and played a few games. Keyboard wasn't the best way to play, but it got the job done. And holy crap, do you know what this means? I went on a downloading spree. All the games I couldn't play as a kid due to no money or not, maybe they were not in stores or whatever, I got to test them all out. I played so many games. I didn't really think about it at the time, but yeah, I went digital. A collection of ROMs sitting on a hard drive that I could play anytime I wanted. That was awesome. Then I remember I did the same for the Super Nintendo. I still had the systems in the house with the games, but having them on my computer, all in one folder, easy to load up, it was so convenient. Not to mention, the games looked better on my computer monitor than they did on my old 20-inch color CRT TV. Going back to computer gaming for a minute, up to this point, I always played video games on consoles. Then we got a computer. I remember getting games for it, loading them to the hard drive. That was strange to me. that it installed to the computer, and I needed to keep the CD in the CD-ROM for the game to play. Why did it install to the computer? Why couldn't it just run off the CD? My game carts just popped in and played. This was kind of a new experience for me, but it didn't really bother me too much at all. It was way better though when I found out you can get no CD cracks. I didn't even need to put the CD in the drive at all then. Then I got a Nintendo 64, and pretty much the same story. Buy some games, trade with family and friends, have a good time playing some really fun games. Even got a PlayStation later on. Gran Turismo looks so good. So at this point, I'm pretty much back to being a console gamer. I'm all in on the PlayStation 2. I'm moving out of home into an apartment with my best friend. As a young person in college with rent to pay, wasn't a whole lot of money kicking around. Feels like I'm coming full circle from when I was a kid, wanting to play video games, but not much money to buy games. Mod chips were a thing, but that was cool, but it wasn't the same. So this is where I really started to collect retro games. It wasn't because I seen it as a way to make money or it was a cool hobby. I didn't even know it was a thing when I started. All I was doing was trying to stretch a few dollars and to make the most of it. I could drop $60 on a PlayStation 2 game, or drop $30 and get a Sega Genesis with 10 games. That seemed like a better way to go at the time. Old games are cheap and seem to be a lot around. So that's really how I started collecting. It was really cool that there are so many different old systems just lying around for a person to buy and enjoy. So now we're getting close to the PlayStation 360, Wii, and Wii U era of gaming. I still enjoyed gaming in this generation. Still a lot of media kicking around to buy. You could also download games. I didn't really like downloading them. I still wanted to buy the disc. One thing I forgot to mention, if you couldn't get a game at launch because it was too expensive, you could wait 6 months or more, and you could get a much better deal on it. If you could wait, you could save money. A lot of time, that's what I did. But I also noticed something which I will touch on later. With digital coming around now, they said games would be cheaper as it didn't need to make a case, print a manual, or a disc or DVD. The savings would be passed on to us. Physical media was going to cost more. As far as I could see, this never really happened. Game prices stayed the same. I think if they made the digital games cheaper, then the physical stores would not be happy, as they would be holding on to way more physical media. They would have to discount it to clear it out. Physical media was still needed at this point, so the stores were also still needed. They couldn't go upsetting them. Oh, and one thing to note, as I'm not a PC gamer at this point, but I have noticed you don't see PC games at stores, and I haven't seen them for quite some time. The Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and Nintendo Switch are out now. This generation pretty much full on get rid of physical media. Talking with game store employees, they notice they are not getting as many copies of games shipped to them. Going to Walmart and Best Buy and other stores, you start to see the gaming section is getting smaller. The writing is on the wall. This is pretty much where we are now. How do I feel about this? Honestly, not good. But we're here now. There's not much you can do about it. Even now, when you go and buy a physical game, the game is not on the disc. And if it is, it's more likely in a broken state. So you're going to have to go and download the whole game again anyway. But looking back at my history with gaming, I did enjoy a mix of digital and physical media. I had no issue with collecting ROMs or game carts. I like them both. I do like game cases, manuals, and discs, and cartridges, but I also like having all my games in one location easy to load up and play. So where am I at this point? Well, for a guy who spent way more years playing on console than computer, I like the way computers are set up, but early 2000s. I want a disc, I want to load the game in, I want to put the disc away, I want to play the game off the hard drive. And when I think about this, and why I like this setup, it's really not about the physical media. It's about the access. I want the access to my games. Having the disc gives me that. I'm not waiting on a download. I'm not hoping a server is still up and hoping that maybe I can still get a game I bought a few years ago because now I want to revisit it. The disc, the cart I have, it gives me that access. I think I would be fully on board with an all-digital future if I knew I could always have access and I was always in control of that access. I don't want to leave that up to a company. I know they will just try to sell me the same game again and again if I let them. Here is where I said I would get back to something I want to touch on. Around the 7th generation, I noticed game prices didn't seem to come down as quick. At least in my area. Even when the Switch was out, Wii U games at my local Walmart stayed full price. I noticed this today. 5-year-old Switch games, or older, are still going full price. Game prices don't seem to be coming down, even years after release. I think one thing driving this is stores don't have as much physical media. When a store had many copies of a game, and it didn't sell all the copies, a few months later, they would drop the prices so they could clear out the games to make room for the new ones coming in. Stores don't seem to be getting as many copies of games, as you can tell by the little bit of space they are allocating for video games. So there's no rush to clear them out. There's no reason to drop the prices. With that, there's also no reason for digital prices to drop, as there's no competition with the physical store. It doesn't cost much to keep a game on a server. So with games not taking up much space, digital or physical, both stores will keep games at full price. This really sucks for gamers who are on a budget. There's pros and cons to both physical and digital. Some pros for digital are, you can always get a copy. They're never going to sell out, as they would at a nearby store. It's convenient, mind you don't mind waiting a few hours for the game to download. This could be much better for a lot of people who don't want to go get in their car and drive to a store and hope they can find a copy somewhere in their town. You don't have to worry about the game getting scratched or damaged. Some of the cons for digital are, if the servers go down or offline, you can't buy the game. Games could be delisted and removed from your console for a variety of reasons without your consent. In some cases, it could be faster to pick up a copy and install the game as it would be for you to download the game. The pros of physical are, once you buy the game, you own that copy. You can always play it, install it, and if you get a new console, you can install it to that if an old one breaks. You can trade it with friends and family. This is a great way to test out games to see if you like them before you buy them yourself. You can sell it once you're done with it. This can also help you get some more cash for newer games. Also, you can do as I did. You can go out and buy a console with many games. I could do that because there was physical media to buy. It will be hard to buy a digital library. I'll be surprised if they'll let you transfer your games, your digital library, to a new owner. Newer generations are going to have a harder time collecting games. Some of the cons of physical are, if the game gets damaged or scratched, you'll need to get it repaired or buy a new one. And in some cases, if the game is rare or hard to find, this could cost you even more than it did when you first bought the game. The game can get lost or stolen, and again can be hard to replace. You'll need space to store your games. This can be a problem for some people with limited space. So with all this, when it really comes down to it, I think a lot of gamers would feel much better with an all-digital future if they could control the access to the games they buy. Having the physical media can help with that. I'll be hanging on to my physical media as long as I can. I just don't trust any company to do the right thing by gamers, as there is no money in it for them. They will not run servers forever, or will they keep all games on their servers, for many reasons. They will, however, sell you the same game again. As long as they have access to all the games, you bet your sweet dollar this is exactly what they'll do. I hope you enjoyed my point of view on this topic. Any comments you want to make, please share them in the comments section down below. Thanks for listening.